Urgent, Raiders fan! Look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest your team news. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Chip Kelly's true feelings on working with Geno Smith leaked. The Las Vegas Raiders offense is going to look far different in 2025 than it did in 2024. Not only did the team add a new quarterback in Geno Smith, but they also hired a new offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly comes over from Ohio State, where he called plays for national championship-winning offense. Kelly does have experience calling plays at the NFL level, but has spent most of his career in college. In the past, Kelly typically worked with mobile quarterbacks, but he's had success with more traditional quarterbacks. Smith can certainly move, but he's more of a pocket passer than a runner. According to Tashan Reed of The Athletic, Kelly thinks highly of Smith and isn't concerned about fit. Kelly has never worked with Smith, but views him as a strong fit for his system, according to team sources, Reed wrote. Back when Kelly was the head coach at Oregon, he recruited Smith when he was coming out of high school. While Smith chose to go to West Virginia, they remained in touch. And when Kelly began to coach Smith's cousin, Jeremiah Smith, as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State in 2024, the two renewed their relationship. Smith will deepen his knowledge of Kelly's scheme once players report for off-season team activities. Tuesday, but they won't be operating from ground zero. Smith praises Kelly's offense. Smith has worked in many offenses throughout his career, so he's no stranger to having to adapt. Kelly has called plays for top NFL offenses, but that was over a decade ago. For his part, Smith is a fan of Kelly's system and thinks he can be productive. There's a lot of things to like about this system, Smith said during his introductory press conference. Obviously, I've got to dive into it and really just learn the ins and outs of it and how he wants things to be run. But just watching it like a fan from afar, I was really impressed. The Raiders fired offensive coordinator Luke Getsy during the 2025 season, so things can't get much worse for the offense. Kelly should be a significant upgrade for the team. Smith is ready to work. Smith is joining a new team with a new coaching staff, so if the Raiders want to compete in 2025, they'll need to put in a lot of work. The quarterback recently got a contract extension and is ready to start putting in the work. It's about us going out there and earning every single thing, Smith said. I'm going to be the guy that's going to give every single thing that I've got, and that's every single day. I'm never going to let up. I'm going to do whatever it takes to go out there and win. It's important that my teammates see that, and they see that in me, and I want them to be inspired by that. The work starts now. It's not impossible for the Raiders to go from one of the worst teams in the NFL to a playoff team, but how Smith plays could dictate how well they do. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Raider Nation news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. 49ers trade with Raiders. Predicted by NFL insider Rian Valentino of the 33rd team, projects the San Francisco 49ers will look to obtain the Las Vegas Raiders' 6th pick in the draft later this month. That trade would allow the 49ers to draft, in Valentino's opinion, defensive tackle Mason Graham of Michigan. The problem is, Valentino believes the Raiders can make the trade and obtain the 11th pick from the 49ers, and still draft running back Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. Should the Raiders make that move, they will have no shot at Jeanty, as he will be gobbled up by the New York Jets with the 7th pick. If the Raiders truly want Jeanty, which general manager John Spytek keeps telling everyone he does, they will stand pat at number 6 and try to acquire more picks later in the draft. Further, the odds would be greater if San Francisco made the deal. They would look to package George Kittle and get more draft choices and select Tyler Warren from Penn State at number 6. The trade makes no sense for the Raiders, and there is no answer as to what the 49ers would have to give up to get the pick. San Francisco has more needs than what we're used to seeing with this regime, but it still has more picks 11 than what they can use, Valentino said. Moving some of that capital to land one of the few elite players at a position of critical need is worthwhile. Mason Graham is incredibly disruptive and might be the safest prospect in the class. Raiders rumors Texas star named draft trade-back target. The Raiders are rumored to be interested in adding a cornerback during the 2025 NFL Draft. The Las Vegas Raiders have already had an eventful offseason. Las Vegas signed Pete Carroll and traded for Geno Smith before the start of NFL free agency. Both of those moves completely changed the trajectory of what the Raiders might do in the 2025 NFL Draft. One NFL analyst believes the Raiders could target their defense early in the draft. ESPN's Jordan Reed had some interesting thoughts about the Raiders just weeks before the 2025 NFL Draft. Reed started by echoing the popular narrative about Las Vegas being the perfect landing spot for Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty and the Raiders are one of the most linked pairings in this draft, Reed wrote. It makes sense because Las Vegas could use another instant impact offensive threat along with tight end Brock Bowers, and Carroll isn't afraid to use first round. Capital on running back, see Rashad Penny. Reed also suggested that the Raiders could be interested in acquiring a cornerback during the draft. He even named Texas star Jody Barron as an option if Las Vegas traded back in the first round. Cornerback could be another position the Raiders target early, especially if they decide to trade down from number 6. Multiple league sources have mentioned Jody Barron, Texas as an option if the Raiders trade back. It is hard to argue with that. Opinion. Barron is capable of playing both cornerback and safety. This type of hybrid defensive back is incredibly popular on modern NFL defenses. NFL stars like Kyle Hamilton and Brian Branch are just a few of this type of player who have thrived. In the pros, the Raiders would be thrilled if they could add a tone setter in their defensive secondary. Perhaps Las Vegas will trade up into the middle or end of the first round if Barron slides too far down the board. New regime drew Geno Smith. To Raiders, at first glance, the surprising trade that sent Geno Smith from the Seahawks to the Raiders appeared to be about money. It's a familiar story in the NFL. A player wants more money than his current team is willing to offer and requests to be traded to a new team who will meet his demands. That seemed to be the case when the Raiders gave Smith a 2-year, $75 million extension a few weeks after they acquired him. But Smith insists that the move wasn't only about money, according to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer. His relationships with key members of the Raiders' new regime, head coach Pete Carroll, offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, and minority owner Tom Brady, showed him the respect and opportunity he could have in Las Vegas. Carroll forged a lasting bond during Smith's career turnaround in Seattle, which included a Comeback Player of the Year award in 2022 and a 3-year, $75 million extension in 2023. Though Carroll left the Seahawks in 2024, the two remained in touch as Smith navigated the ups and downs of a 107 season under a new head coach. "I would call him whenever I got frustrated," said Smith via Breer. "He talked me through things, and he still coached me. And I think that's what makes him such a special man, is that he was coaching me even when he wasn't my head coach. A lot of the things that he was telling me, a lot of conversations we had, really kept me steady throughout the season and kept my head on straight." In January, the Raiders hired Carroll as their next head coach. 2 months later, negotiation. Talks between Smith and the Seahawks broke down, leading them to take calls on a potential trade. Seattle wanted to work with Smith on finding his new home and notified his agent of the Raiders' interest. Having Carroll as his head coach was a plus. So was the Raiders' new offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, who tried to recruit a teenage Smith to Oregon more than a decade ago. The two renewed their connection when Kelly coached Smith's cousin, star wideout Jeremiah Smith, at Ohio State. "We never got the chance to be player coach," said Smith, "but I've always wanted to explore that. We've always had a good rapport with one another." And then there was Brady, the legendary quarterback who bought a minority stake in the Raiders in 2024 and played a major role in their organizational overhaul this offseason. Brady recognized the mental traits that will give Smith a chance at playing into his 40s, like Brady did, and his vote of confidence loomed large in Smith's mind. With excitement about the franchise's new leadership and the prospect of a financial commitment past 2025, Smith realized that the Raiders offered the brightest future. "I just thought the opportunity in Vegas, man, it was just too great to pass up," he said. "And now, Raiders fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Raiders. He'll be back any moment with more Raider Nation news."